everyone, I'm Kevin Jackson, founder and CEO of Level 6 Cybersecurity. As Jordan mentioned, we're down in Cincinnati. We are a startup in the AI and cybersecurity space. And thanks for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. I had not been here before. I'm one of the first time attendees from the survey earlier. I'm really excited to get to participate in this symposium. So, quick background on me and a little bit on Level 6. I'm an almost career-long cybersecurity guy. Electrical engineer by degree. Wound my way into software, system engineering, and security by about the time into the 90s, rolled into the year 2000, and I've been there ever since. So I'm a cybersecurity guy, compliance guy, systems engineering, software engineering, and data analytics has been a big part of my background, which led to our startup, Level 6 Cybersecurity, that we founded back in 2022. Kind of a long story short there, we are in the middle of that AI and cybersecurity space because we are developing and have launched a platform which is using AI and machine learning to pursue AI, cybersecurity, superintelligence, to pursue decision-making, strategy, governance, support in an automated way to help cybersecurity decision makers do what they do best. So this is a really critical topic for me, and I love everything I've heard so far, especially from Tony, your opening presentation, because that lays the groundwork for talking about my desperate attempt to talk about the future. Now, of course, it's really difficult to talk about the future in something so complex. But in this presentation, we're going to look at some of the obvious future risks and benefits as AI and cybersecurity merge. But we're going to look at it in two different ways. We're going to talk about how cybersecurity in its use by businesses, by organizations, needs to be protected by the cybersecurity leaders, like all of us in this room, current and future, and how cybersecurity is used by defenders to help better protect themselves and their organization, and how the bad guys are using AI and will be continually using AI to do what they do better. So we're going to look at that whole multifaceted picture in just a few minutes. I'll try to keep to my time to kind of describe what the future looks like and kind of what we need to do in order to make sure we don't miss the boat, either in how AI is used beneficially, how we protect our organizations, and how do we make sure that the bad guys in this arms race of AI don't win. Okay, so let's start here with AI as friend. And as you can imagine, the following slide will be AI as foe. There's a lot of areas where AI is our friend. Notwithstanding the comments, which I'm glad you brought up, Tony, about jobs, because I'm not going to talk about that. That's been covered, and that's really good, because that is not in this slide. So AI as friend obviously can be something of an AI as foe if you're afraid that your position is going to be eliminated. The key there, as Tony said, is to evolve and to become involved with the technologies that allow the jobs to move with the tech. But big picture, when it comes to AI as friend, there are so many key ways that today's and the evolving AI and machine learning tools help us. Cybersecurity planning and strategy is the first one I put there because it's so often left off with these slides. This is the area, I'm biased, this is the area that I live in. So we've worked for the past, I've worked for the past 6 or 7 years, and that our startup has worked for the past 3 years to create cybersecurity strategy and planning using AI, helping strategize, helping use data, helping use open source intelligence, helping use academic research, helping use all of the data that's out there to be integrated in machine learning models, to be accessed via LLMs and natural language query, natural language response, to give answers, to give guidance, to give support, to give actually optimized leadership support to 4 people who are chief information security officers who are crushed nowadays with the pain of having to keep their organization secure in environments where sometimes there's personal liability at stake, where their jobs are going to be on the line if they're the ones who are on watch when a big ransomware attack hits, when a massive scam hits. Giving some relief to those pains by helping using AI and using real-world data to give planning and strategy guidance in a super intelligent way. This is something that can't be overlooked. It's not just tactical, it's also at that strategy and planning level. Visibility. This is something I was touched on in the first presentation. Using AI to get enhanced visibility into tactical and widespread arenas within cyber, user behavior, tool characteristics, IT asset management, all the different aspects of technical and strategic vulnerabilities. Technical vulnerabilities everyone's used to talking about, right? That's patching, that's version control, version management, external vulnerabilities and internal. But what about strategic vulnerabilities? That's something, again, where large data sets and data collections that can be correlated with strategic choices that lead to more bad outcomes than others can be used to give decision support and guidance to cyber decision makers. It's not something that any one human can do, but it's something that large-scale processors of data are designed to do. Third-party risk management. So if anybody's been watching the news recently, it's literally any given week, you watch the news and you've been seeing how vendor risk, third-party risk has been on the increase. So 2 weeks ago, it was Salesforce and their sales loss drift application, which is an AI LLM-based application, a chatbot in the Salesforce world that got breached and led to breaches at so many major organizations, 700 plus, including Cloudflare and some big service providers. So the IT supply chain hit hard by third-party risk management. And then this past weekend, and right in here is someone who represents Columbus Airport, so they know about this. This past weekend, you probably saw the news like Heathrow, Brussels Airport, and several others in Europe having dozens to hundreds of canceled and delayed flights because a single system of theirs, provided by Collins Aerospace, got breached. Collins got ransomware. That one system went down. It affected massive numbers of flights in Europe, which affected other things all over the world. Third-party risk is everywhere. AI can actually help with this as well. There are spaces where we can look at assessing and managing and governing vendor risk process, which again has a level of complexity that is beyond what a standard individual or even a team may be able to manage. But if you look at it in a data sense, if you look at it in a machine learning sense, there's a place there for AI to play. And then of course tactical response, which is the most immediate use, which is already happening within AI. Incident response, threat detection, mitigation actions. That timeline that Tony presented in the first presentation, exactly that point in case. These are great, right? AI is friend, but that's not the only truth we have to consider. AI is foe is just as big, and of course I'm putting here 4 bullets. We could have put 40 for each of these. AI is friend, AI is foe. The foe side is absolutely terrifying. For reasons we'll get into a little later, we're not necessarily always ahead of the curve here. Advanced phishing, defensive agents, social engineering and fraud, vulnerability model and exploitation, and. When it comes to social engineering and fraud alone, that one topic, the AI-driven social engineering, how much better in the last few years has phishing gotten? Remember when we had that wonderful, reliable fact that 80% of our phishing emails sounded like they were written by someone who doesn't speak English as a first language. And so you can look for grammar errors. That used to be one of our best defenses. That's what we trained on for years and years. So again, since about 2019, since late 2018, I've been a virtual CISO, fractional CISO, and a cybersecurity advisor. I stepped down from being the CISO of a pharmaceutical company that I was with for about 4 years down in Cincinnati, and hung up my shingle as an independent advisor. So while launching our startup, I've been a vCISO helping organizations build their cyber programs. And the core of the training we would provide, a lot of our emphasis when it comes to phishing, which is still a huge, the biggest single source of actual breaches that happen on phishing emails, had to do with look at the grammar, look at the structure, look at the timing. Is it something unusual you wouldn't expect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nowadays, again, I mentioned we at level 6. We're a startup company. Over this past few months, we've raised venture capital money several times. Every single time that I've been waiting for a DocuSign from an investor, knowing it's coming, ready to sign because we're going to get some more invested money in our startup, I've gotten 2 to 3 excellent looking DocuSign phishing emails, spear phishing, extremely targeted. They knew it was coming. They knew it was for me. They knew what kind of language to use. They are in all our data. When I've gone on vacation several times, I've seen phishing emails show up that are relevant to the part of the country we're traveling to. Some of you guys haven't heard these kind of stories before. It's extraordinary. Not only are the topics good, the timing is excellent, you can't rely on bad grammar anymore because they've got chatbots galore to write the content for them, and then automation to produce these at a high rate. That one topic alone, AI as foe, is just crazy scary. So now you really can't trust necessarily anything. When we talk about deepfakes, and that's that whole topic, Oh my goodness, I mean, how much better is that going to get? I'm actually going to talk about that in a forward-looking slide as well. Defense evasion, that's another massive. The tools are learning. Just like we talk about using tools to learn how to defend better. The attacker tools are learning how to attack better. They can track the trends and the data the same way we try to with the defensive side, and learn how to better and better evade, deactivate, move around, do whatever it takes to get through the defenses that are in place in a proactive way. And on it goes. Vulnerability modeling piece alone, all of it is very scary. But you can imagine how we as defenders, we have to be thinking of exactly where, more than we have to plan for where the technologies are going to do these things. How much better can it get? Okay, so that's AI's friend and that's AI's foe. The scariest part of this, though, not to be all doom and gloom, I swear I'm not all doom and gloom. AI is the unknown. And I touched on it here as we started, but what are the things we don't know? Let's start with, again, the organizations that we work with. Every company that is represented in this room, it has cybersecurity threats that are managed. And every company in this room has people who have been loving the fact, reveling in the fact that AI has come along to help the business. Where those two things meet becomes the job of the cybersecurity decision maker at the organization to let the business improve, let them have those advancements in technology and efficiency and effectiveness that LLMs and AI tools can bring, workflows and all of that, safely. This has given rise to what might be one of the biggest waves of shadow IT in history. Who is using AI? So it was probably a year and a half ago, the first time I watched a couple of my customers, our customers at level 6, do a real inventory, do a questionnaire, have some meetings with folks around their businesses to ask, okay, who's already using ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity or Gemini? Who's already using it? Because they had not enabled any tools. IT hadn't offered any, nothing had been vetted. And word was getting around, oh, people already use this stuff. And IT is like, what do you mean they're using it? What are they doing with it? And one example, a financial services company that I'm familiar with, they found out that something like 60% of their staff had used an LLM for work in the past month. And that was 18 months ago. It's gotten more and more, it's growing, because they work. Who's using it? What tools are they using? What data is exposed? Back in my days in the DoD and a lot of DoD support, I was at Wright-Patt Air Force Base as a Booz Allen guy for about 7.5 years. One thing we always talked about was data aggregation. Because if you're dealing with data classification, you're dealing with secret or top secret or confidential data from government, items that could be separately unclassified, you put them together and become classified. That's no less true in the business world. If you have tools that are able to automatically connect the dots across systems, or if you have prompts that bring data together and send them off to an LLM for processing or for consolidation or for analyzing or creating the graphics, is anyone paying attention to how the data aggregation affects the sensitivity of that data? Does anyone even know? The security aspects of this have been lagging behind the capability, as is so often the case in technology in general. Where's it going? Who's driving it? Is there any governance in place at all? Now, on the flip side of that, the challenge of dynamic threats. So we had the challenge of dynamic governance, which is huge. But what about the threats themselves? We talked about that a little bit on the front side, but here in the unknown side, we know that emerging threats, the evolving deepfakes and scams, perimeter security challenges that evolve even further, IT supply chain exposure, all of this that continues that we don't yet know about, that we have to begin to consider, that we have to model, that frankly we have to imagine and then position ourselves to defend against. These are absolutely questions we have to pay attention to. It's not enough, though it's critical, to have that internal governance in place. We have to do it. But then on the other side of that, we have to be aware of where attacker technology is going. We have to simulate it, we have to model it, and we have to be ready to dynamically address these issues. The deepfakes and scam piece, so I know some of you have probably seen the videos, you've seen the fakes that come out there. There have been some pretty big horror stories about those. But one of the big questions that comes with that is not just detecting them, but being able to continually track how the evolution of those attack patterns evolves. how the quality changes, when the bad guys zig and zag with how they're promoting these sorts of deepfakes, either their video, audio, or text. We have to either be able to track their movements or get enough ahead of them that anything that's not already validated and verified and true is easily detected. How do we do that? You only do that by proactively getting ahead of the curve on how these things evolve. I mentioned that last bullet. What happens is AI and quantum computing begin to merge when the hyper analytic capabilities and data generation and modeling capabilities of quantum computing begin to become more mature, and the bad guys get a hold of it. Well, the obvious hopeful answer is, on the defender side, we have to be doing the same thing. We have to get there just as soon as the bad guys, or we will be continue lagging behind. So as some of you may know, I mentioned the history of technology being far too similar. In ways we are watching a similar pattern repeat itself. When the internet first was invented and became the World Wide Web, when hosts first began connecting over telephone lines, when email was first put forth, which is well before the World Wide Web, as Unix machines used to just communicate with each other with simple mail protocols. All of those communication protocols were created for effectiveness, business use, data transfer, for efficiency. And then security was added on afterwards. We had the internet, we had HTTP, long before we had HTTPS and secure encryption between sites. We had SMTP and email and simple mail protocols long before secure email and the headers and the additional pieces of email that allow us to have any sort of validation and security again and review. All of those were tacked on afterwards. And as a result, so much of our modern technology, security is lagging behind capability. And we're seeing it again, unfortunately, in AI. The capabilities are racing far ahead of the actual defensive security capabilities that need to go with it. That's what we have to rail against. We have to do everything we can as a community, globally, as defenders, to stay up on pace, stay with, to possibly, if all possible, get ahead of where the wave of AI technology evolution is going. So in short, no idea where I am on time, but probably pretty long. The future of AI and cybersecurity needs to be able to be determined not by the machines and the algorithms, but by us, by the practitioners, by the current and the next generation, the students in the room, of those who are going to be leading in this space. We cannot let that old pattern of security being bolted on after the fact as we go, of lagging behind, of letting the business use and the workflows and the efficiencies and all of the wonderful things get so far ahead of us that we are always lagging behind and trying to secure after the fact. We have to lean into governance, dynamic governance. We have to lean into understanding and modeling the threats, the threat actors, the attackers, and what they do and how they do it, just as actively as the defenders do. And that is not going to happen accidentally. We have to intentionally focus on that space, creating more and more AI tools and models that do what I just described automatically, that are constantly looking and learning and anticipating and driving us to better ways to defend, to better ways to dynamically govern, so that we're not, once again, repeating that same old story of security being added on after the fact, which is kind of a worst case scenario. That, I think, is the future of AI and cybersecurity. Obviously, it's not an answer, but it's a plea. Those of us that are in this room and everybody that we can all talk to, we have to get quickly to a focus that locks in on where it's going and is willing to push those borders and get as close as we can to proactive, and using the tools to get proactive and to get integrated with the business needs and to get proactive in how we anticipate the attackers' actions and their technologies, and really engage in this as a true war, as opposed to, well, it's okay, we'll get security going, but it has to be a true arms race. We have to be willing to get there, put the resources in place to do it, so that we're not constantly lagging behind. That's my presentation. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
So I heard your plea, and I saw the many challenges, but how would you prioritize prompt engineering needs to combat these particular threats? What are the threats that you are seeing getting through from AI that, could you be more specific? Or may give examples?
So how would I prioritize the different needs for defense?
Yeah, for
For-
new, right, which is, I mean, so using AI to combat AI better.
Yes, so this is a sweet spot. Because there are gonna be changes over time in, say, how successful prompt engineering is at causing breaches, losses, failures, downtime, hacks. Or rather it's not in the prompt engineering space, or maybe it's vulnerability. Maybe it's advanced vulnerability detection or creation tools, or maybe it's supply chain based AI threats that are the biggest issue. But the answer is we need to be using modeling tools that are looking at the trends, watching what's happening, and detecting the patterns and trends using AI to tell us where, as an industry, as a sector, as an organization, which of those are our biggest threat at the moment. We have to get dynamic. So the answer would be, I don't know if right now I should focus more on prompt engineering and prompt defense, or if it should be on vulnerability management, patching, or if it should be on how I'm cross-integrating with all these SaaS tools that I use. I need to have a model that's gonna tell me, based on who and what I am, size, my location in the country, the kind of work I do, my profile, that will tell me, hey, right now, given what's happening, get back here to focus on prompt engineering, or focus really on your perimeter, or focus on the cloud, or focus on how you're doing monitoring and log management, whatever it might be. That, I think, is the answer. We need to evolve the tools that tell us the answer and tell us when it changes. Tell us when, the whole trends globally have changed, new tech has come along. Costs have dropped for this type of attack. And so we can move and shift dynamically. So we dynamically attack how we defend, how we move, where we put our resources, because resources are so limited. We have small teams, the mid-market, upper mid-market, and no one has a limitless budget. Even the big companies that say they have all the budget in the world, they have limited budgets too. We need to use AI to answer that question, just like the bad guys are using.
Thanks. I know there's more questions for Kevin, so grab them at the break. We are gonna just keep moving right along here. Thank you again.
Thank you.